I'll say it, the second Hangover movie doesn't make any sense. Now don't get me wrong, I enjoy the Hangover movies, I enjoy all three of them, but the second one just seems improbable to me. The reason for this is because it's essentially just a rehash of what the original movie was. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed this movie, it's really entertaining, but I just don't like that the writers took the elements that made the original movie good and essentially just templated it and then just filled in the blanks to make what is essentially the same movie. Now, there's nothing stopping them from doing this, however, so I'm not essentially shaming them from remaking the same movie because it's their story, they'll do what they want with it. They also do advance it a little bit with Stu getting married, but it just feels like a money grab, and the sad thing is with that is the second movie did better than the first. However, this movie didn't do nearly as good on Rotten Tomatoes. The first Hangover movie got a 78%. The second one got a 32% despite doing better financially. And then the third movie brought in the least money and has a score of 20%, which I almost think is BS because I much prefer Hangover 3 to 2. But I understand that it's a different thing, but we're not talking about that. For this video, I'm going to assume that you already know the story of the Hangover movies. The movie's been out for 11 years at this point, I think. But in case you don't, I'll summarize the movie as quick as possible. But if not, just skip ahead to this timestamp and you'll see how I get into the goddamn thing. Doug is getting married. His two friends and his brother-in-law go to Vegas for a bachelor party and go to the roof, do some shots of Jaeger, transition. It's the next day, they don't remember anything, they find out they lost Doug and they go on a trip around Vegas to try and find their friend Doug. They then find out about their antics that they don't remember it all the night before, and they by retracing their steps, and then boom, they find Doug, they go, the wedding's all good, there we go. And that's the general gist of it, just off memory. But yeah, so now that you're all caught up, let's get on into the goddamn whatever you want to call this. In this, I'm going to skip around a lot. I'm not going to summarize the entirety of the movie. I'm just going to point out moments more so where it copies the original movie. So this movie, it starts with the exact same opening as the original one. It starts with Bradley Cooper's character Phil calling Tracy, the woman who Doug gets married to in the first movie, and tells her it happened again. It seems improbable to me that the same group of guys that are throwing a bachelor party don't remember anything the next day, lose someone important 2 years later. I just don't like it already off the bat. So another thing they take from the first movie is when the wolf pack, as Alan likes to say, is walking down the hall. This time it's in an airport on the way to Thailand instead of a hotel in Vegas on their way to the casino. The music behind the two shots are different though. In the original movie, it's Who Let the Dogs Out, and in the second movie, it's Stronger by potential future president. Who knows what the hell's going on with that? But Kanye, I don't know why it was a fist, but it was a fist. So the transition between the first night and the next day is exactly the same. And don't get me wrong, this is a cool way to pay homage to the original, to have the same shots, but this movie, it's just the same exact things happening, just in a different location. And it's really cheap for a sequel, I think. But when you think about it, there's not much that they can do for a sequel of The Hangover. So then they wake up the next day, and in this one, instead of Stu missing a tooth, he has a Mike Tyson tattoo on his face. And it's a cool way to call back that Mike Tyson, rather, it was in the first movie. In this one, instead of a random baby, it's a monkey.
It's a monkey!
Instead of Doug missing, it's Stu's soon-to-be brother-in-law, Teddy. And then we find out that Doug wasn't there when he was there the night before they forgot everything. And Doug is having breakfast at the pool, which is a really cool callback that I didn't realize was a callback until writing this video. Because when they're trying to figure out where Doug is, Bradley Cooper says he's probably having breakfast at the pool.
Whatever. Look, he probably went to the pool to get something to eat. Let's call a cell.
But then in this movie, it cuts to Doug answering the phone, and he's having breakfast at the pool. So they learned from their mistakes 2 years ago and checked the roof first thing for Teddy. but he's not there. So when they're going around gathering information as to what happened the night prior, at a point they go to a monk palace, whatever the hell you want to call it. They're around a bunch of monks, and in this one, Alan is meditating or whatever to try and remember, and he ends up remembering there, so we see what was happening. And then in the previous one, they saw footage at Mike Tyson's house when they steal a tiger. So after that, they go to a strip club, talk to a stripper to see if they saw Teddy. She says that they left together, and the guys almost forgot Stu because they was having sex with her, and he asked her to marry him in reference to him actually marrying a stripper in the previous movie. Then there's some jokes that probably wouldn't fly today, so I'm not gonna repeat them, but all I'll say is this movie's set in Bangkok, so yeah, let's leave it at that. They then find out that Alan drugged them again, and this time instead of roofies on the roof, it was muscle stimulators and his ADHD medication in marshmallows. After that, they meet with Paul Giamatti at some hotel, and they have Teddy for ransom because of money Chow, Ken Jeong's character, has to give them. And the parallel in the first movie for this is them having to give the $80,000 to Chow to get back Doug, but in this one, it's Chow for Teddy. But then they bring Paul Giamatti for Chow, and it turns out that they don't really have Teddy, much like they had Black Doug instead of Doug in the first movie. Black Doug being their words in the movie, not mine. Then the three guys are just sitting around, just trying to figure out what to do while Alan is playing Pac-Man. And then Doug calls Phil and Lauren, Stu's fiance, steals the phone from him, trying to figure out what's going on. But while this is happening, Stu is piecing together what actually happened to Teddy. Stu then runs up to Phil and steals the phone and says everything is fine. And then they determine that Teddy's stuck in the elevator because of a power outage after trying to get more ice for his severed finger. Now this is really similar, obviously, to shit that happened in the first movie. But instead of an elevator, it's the roof. And except for a power outage, it's a cinder block to keep the door open. Then the movie ends with them looking at pictures Teddy took on his phone, and it's the same ending as the first one, but this I actually think is really cool because it's a cool way to have the credits go, and then also you look at just stuff that happened the night before, so you're just like, oh, okay, this is alright. So it's not too bad of a ripoff. I actually really enjoy the idea of having pictures coinciding with the credits. So all in all, this is an entertaining movie, but I feel like they could have gone more outside the box than just doing the same thing and having it set in a different country, in a different place, and adding a character to the madness. The third movie, in my opinion, is a great example of going outside the box in terms of a movie series. While this is more collectively unliked, the third movie outranks the second movie in my opinion. While it isn't exactly a hangover movie, it's still a great movie and I really enjoy it, and I feel like more people would had it not been The Hangover 3. I understand that when the idea of a Hangover sequel comes up, and then we find out that to go about it that'll still make money. So if they were gonna stop at a point, I almost wish that it was after the first movie. As much as I loved the third movie, and I still do enjoy the second movie, but it just because it's so much of a copy, I don't like it as much. But the reason for this is because The Hangover is such a great standalone movie. It could have just stayed at that, and they didn't have to make sequels. So I think that Hangover should have been, from the start, just a standalone movie, and there not been two more to come after this. While I love that there are more movies in the series, they're just not as great as the first one. They don't have the magic, and they also, as films on Rotten Tomato, they aren't as good. But yeah, so Mr. Joker Man, if you could go back in time and not make Hangover 2, that'd be great. Thank you.